Hi, everyone. I wanted to go over a bit of chapter 1 with you to highlight some big ideas. And two of those things have to do with literary elements. When you see the story start in chapter 1, it talks about when he was nearly 13, my brother Jim got his arm badly broken. So we are flashing back. And in fact, this whole story is told from Scout Finch's perspective as an adult. However, she's talking about the time when she was between the ages essentially of 6 and 9. And so that is, kind of the perspective that we're getting. And we have this event that she mentions in the beginning. And this paragraph, or even the next sentence, talks about when enough years had gone by to enable us to look back on them. So that's where we are at this point. She's looking back. So there's a mixed kind of point of view, which we'll look at more as we advance with the story. But want to keep in mind that she is flashing back and also even foreshadowing some things. The idea that we open with a broken arm, and another point here might be something to kind of foreshadow events in the story. But she gives background as she moves along about the Finch family, where they came from, settling into the area. They were, in fact, slave owners. They had an area called Finch Landing where people settled. And she mentions, her father, who ultimately studied law and is now a lawyer. She talks about him and his cases, or a little bit of his early days as a lawyer. And this is the other part where I was thinking you might think a little bit in terms of foreshadowing. She talks about how this was probably the beginning of my father's profound distaste for the practice of criminal law. So that is something that will kind of come into play as we see him develop in the story and a trial that takes place. So she goes on to talk about the town of Macomb and the culture and kind of attitudes of people there. She talks a little more about, the members of their family. So it's Atticus, her older brother Jim, and herself, and then Calpurnia, who was their cook because her mother died. Scout and Jim's mom died when she was just 2. And so Calpurnia is really the mother figure to them, okay, and the widowed father. So this is where it kind of picks up of a little bit of chronology right now. She was almost 6. Jim was nearly 10 when they meet Dill, okay, and this is a neighbor lady, Miss Rachel. It's Dill's Aunt Rachel that he comes to visit every summer, and they become friends. Even though he's an outsider, they accept him and, kind of go about, their innocent childhood of just having fun in the summer, but also, kind of looking at that mysterious place in town. And that's where there's a focus on the Radleys, okay, the home of Boo Radley, also known as Arthur Radley, but they call him Boo throughout the story. He also had an older brother, Nathan, that they mention when Mr. Radley passes away. Nathan moves back and is there with the mother, and then Boo Radley. And there's all this lore that goes around the idea of the house and the fascination of the town and kind of the rumors that swirl around this house. So it's interesting to kind of look at that, even think if there's some example you could think of a place or, local story or people that you've heard about. Again, these are kind of rumors, but, this is very much part of the culture and talk of the town, okay? And in fact, there's just a classic kind of summer dare here where, they say, are we going to be brave enough to go and touch the house, okay? Knowing that Boo Radley might be in there. So there is a whole piece here, where they kind of wonder about that dare, and Jim does end up going up, touching the house, and kind of completes that dare. So that's really what's going on here. As I say, we will pick it up when Scout is going into first grade in the next chapter.